right, so here we are, Lake Oconee. This is the Bulldog BFL on March 11th, 2017. And, this is kind of an event that I just ended up going to. I really didn't plan on fishing this division, but I had to work it for Navionics, so I decided to go ahead and enter the event. Of course, I gotta go fishing. And I had my brand new Phoenix 920 Pro XP with my Yamaha SHO 250 on it, and I was just breaking it in, so I had to fish my first tournament out of it. And so I show up to this place, and Oconee is one of those really cool lakes that I hadn't been to before, but it has a lot of really cool shallow cover. You know, it's lined with all these different seawalls. There's just tons of seawalls. I mean, the lake is pretty much all seawalls, and docks. Docks are really big on this lake. And so I figured that I'd go ahead and start out with some techniques such as a Secret Lures stupid tube, flipping a jig around the docks, and also flipping soft plastics like the Z-Man Elastec baits. And that's essentially what I started out with. I started out with the stupid tube, a swim jig. Right here you can see me swimming a swim jig. This is the Project Z swim jig with a diesel nose trailer. And this is what I used to cover water. I figured that the fish were going to be up shallow, really bright sunny conditions, pretty warm, and knew that the fish would be shallow. And right here, you're about to see a fish that kind of confirms that. So that fish right there was real key. Having that first bite during practice that confirms that the fish are up shallow and that they're in a somewhat spawning mode. Of course, we had a full moon that weekend, or we were going to have it that weekend, right around the tournament, and the water temperature was in that 64, 65 degree range. And so I knew that those fish were going to be somewhat bed oriented, even though we were going to have a cold front move through the day of the tournament. And so that was a very key fish that kind of confirmed my suspicions that the fish were up shallow and very easily catchable with power fishing tactics that I like to use. So if that first fish didn't seal the deal as far as figuring out that the fish were up shallow, this next fish that came from underneath the stock did. I mean, that's when I knew that this was the right deal, because I was seeing the right size. And this guy came off of the Secret Lures stupid tube. Great technique for skipping underneath docks. It's something I really like to do during the spring. So with the rest of the first day of practice, which I really just got there at like 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and so I only had a few hours to practice. Got a couple more bites doing about the same thing, so I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to do for day 2 to kind of expand upon what I'd found. So going into day 2, this right here was a very important moment in practice for me. I ended up switching over to a palmetto bugs. So I picked up my Fitzgerald Versa Series flipping stick, and which had the Z-Man palmetto bugs on it, and it was like the first or second pitch. I believe it was the second pitch with it, and ended up hooking into a pretty nice fish.
that pig out. Dude. On the palmetto bugs. Another chunk.
For the wife. See, honey? Putting sunblock on.
You better, you'll end up like me. I got skin cancer all over me.
Yeah. So the morning of the tournament, a cold front did move through, and it was actually a lot cooler than I expected. You know, even though I was looking at the weather reports, it just I was unprepared. Let's just say that. You can see that I'm wearing flip-flops. Had to wear socks, you know, over my feet with the flip-flops. I didn't bring any shoes. Didn't even bring any pants. All I had was my hook, you know, light rain gear, and you know, so I had to borrow somebody's like sweatpants, and so I was a mess, man. I just forgot everything. I was freezing. I didn't have any gloves. So not exactly the most prepared I've ever been for an event. And if I wasn't cold enough, I acting like a goofball, I'd throw my hat in the water. So I got freezing cold water all over my hat. That was awesome. But hey, we don't worry about that kind of stuff during tournament time. So taking off to the first spot, you know, it was a really easy ride because the entire time during practice I stayed within eyesight of the launch ramp, and so it was really just essentially a couple minute run to the back of this creek in Sugar Creek there to my first starting area. Kind of set the scene for you as far as this tournament morning goes. Really cold. I mean, my feet are freezing. You know, I put way too much sunblock on my hands, so they were not only freezing cold and numb, but they're also really slippery. So I really wasn't starting from the best position. But anyways, I got started flipping these docks. My plan was that I was actually going to go ahead and pretty much use one rod all day. That's what I thought that I was going to be doing. So I had a 7'6" medium heavy Versa series Fitzgerald rod with a jig, you know, just a regular green pumpkin jig, and I was going to not only flip that around the docks and the seawalls, but also swim it around the seawalls as well to cover water. So I was going to be able to do a lot of different stuff with that. But what I found is that I had some problems setting the hook on some of these fish. And it wasn't only just one or two fish, it was a bunch of different fish. I missed several fish just within the first hour or so. They were just picking it up, and they'd be halfway to China by the time that I felt them hit. And especially this fish right here. This is a little isolated piece of wood out here, and man, that thing railroaded it. I lifted up, and then it almost took the rod out of my hand. So really wasn't going my way. It was kind of blowing my mind how bad it was. So I tried moving locations, kind of getting some new momentum going, and just really struggled for the first part of the day. As the day crept along, with the sun completely out, even though it was cold in the morning, it started to warm up. Of course, when you start having to take off some layers, you know that those fish are going to start turning on. And even though I got a bunch of bites in the morning and missed them all, I mean, I had about 6 or 7 bites that never connected, or they just came off. And so I was having one heck of a morning, but I knew that that bite would continue getting better. And the only problem that I was having was getting them in the boat, and that didn't end when the sun came out. That one hurt. Finally, around 12:45, things started to look up, and this right here is actually the moment that changed the momentum for the rest of the day.
Net. Oh. There we go. Finally. Now we can start alarming. Thank you.
And even though you can't see the fish was about a 3-pounder, nice solid chunky fish, the size that I'd been seeing all along. So I knew that if I put on my big boy pants and went to work, I'd be able to catch some quality weight in the last few hours. So this is another really important part of the day. Even though I just caught a fish, I still was missing fish, and of course missed that one right there. My co-angler says it was a giant.
Turn around for a second.
However,
Bad timing.
it's how I rebounded after that miss that really set the pace for the last couple hours of the day.
There it is. Oh my gosh, net.
I told you he was a bucket mouth.
Get him. Oh, no.
Not the cleanest fish fighting skills I've ever had.
I told you he was a bucket mouth, dude. Dude, I gotta take a picture of that, man. Holy, that's a bucket mouth, dude.
After catching that kicker that was about 6 pounds, I knew I could get it done. I picked up that palmetto bugs, went to work. The fish were biting it, and they were biting it really well. They were choking it. And here I catch a 14.5 incher that gives me my 3rd fish. And then from there I go to an area where I'd caught them in practice, catch a 2.5 pounder. That's my 4th fish. And then from there I ended up going and running some new water that I hadn't been to yet. Ended up catching a 3-pounder, maybe one just over 3. Didn't get it on camera, the battery ran out. And then I ended up catching another key fish, one that was about 4 pounds, that called out that 14.5 incher and got me a good bag to go into the weigh-in.
Miles a good guy right here. Nah, I'm not even gonna go into the history.
You do every time.
I know it. You want me to?
No.
His nickname's Sonar, and he's a berghoff, so just try to figure that one out. Good sack for you, Miles. You're just gonna go out there and go fishing.
That's what I do. And the funny thing was, my co-angler had a great time with Chris today, and he's just like, man, I'm bad luck. Nobody catches it with me, and I believed him until about 12:45, because I ended up not getting anything in the boat. I lost like 11 fish, and then at 1 I turned it around and finally
And
caught
pull
it.
it out. Yeah, let me put a total weight first.
Oh, sorry.
Total weight first. 5 fish. 17 pounds, 10 ounces. Puts him in first place. Now he's gonna pull out a big fish or a couple to show y'all off. It's going to take a 76 to tie a big fish.
Yeah, I don't have it.
Doesn't have that, but he's going to show you a couple fish that got them in first place.
At the end of the day, I ended up getting bumped out of the first place spot by an angler that had 20 pounds 9 ounces. I expected about 20 pounds to win this tournament, and I was happy to get a second place finish with what I had, especially coming back at 12:45 with no fish in the well and coming back and catching a 17 plus pound bag. So had a great time at Oconee. Always love fishing the BFLs, and I can't wait to go back. and I'll take a second place finish, but next time I want the big old W, and hopefully we'll be able to pull one out this season. Thanks for watching. Keep up with me. Subscribe here on YouTube, and check me out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Comment down here and tell me what you think of this video, if you like the format or not, and give me a little bit of feedback. Hopefully you got something from this, and if you go to Oconee, remember, bring yourself some palmetto bugs from Z-Man.